Hello, today I'm bringing you some of the Tom Clancy's The Division beta gameplay, and I'm just going to do a review of what I thought of the beta and whether or not you should buy the game or not. A few things to note: this is of the beta, not of the actual game, so some of the problems I had with the beta may be fixed by the time the game comes out and may not even be a problem in the actual game. I'm not going to include stuff like glitches as it's a beta. Of course there's going to be glitches. So first up, we're going to go into the amount of running. I felt that I was running a lot more than I was shooting enemies. There was definitely more sprinting going on, and that's not what you want in a game like this where it's a shooter. You don't want to be spending time running around looking for people rather than actually shooting people and getting loot. The second problem I had with this was generally the map layout. You're exploring New York City, which has been infected by a virus, and I'm exploring the streets. There's very few buildings you can go inside. When you can go inside them, they're very basic, they're one or two floors, and they seem more just like passageways onto the next street rather than exploring a full-size building. Which is strange to pick a city like New York with all the skyscrapers to then be exploring the street. And once you've seen one street, you've seen them all. They're all straight with a few abandoned cars on them. And when you're not in the dark zone, when you're in the main zone, you can only really go inside buildings when there's a main mission. I would have liked to explore more buildings, like full big size buildings, while I'm not on missions, while I'm just free roaming. And I hope that's something that is in the base game and they just didn't put it in the beta for whatever reason. And next is the lack of fast travel, and this is one of the things that I'm just putting in there but probably will change, as you can fast travel to missions. So as you play the campaign, you'll unlock more missions, which means you'll unlock more fast travel points. However, I would have liked more fast travel points just that weren't missions, especially there wasn't a way into the dark zone. Like, I had to fast travel to the nearest mission and then travel to the dark zone rather than going to the dark zone entrance and then just walking through, which I thought was a little strange. To get to the PvP area I had to fast travel to a mission, not do the mission, and then just fast travel to the dark zone. I thought that was strange. And I just felt like the map was quite empty. There was not very many enemies in the dark zone that weren't players, just, normal AI. And when I wasn't in the dark zone, there just weren't that many people. I couldn't find that many. When I did, the battles were quite short. And the next problem I had with this was bullet sponge enemies. I'm sorry for the annoying laugh there. I just couldn't resist. I've heard a lot of people complaining about these bullet sponge enemies, and it's an RPG and we're playing the beta, which means I highly doubt there's any people that have got the best gear out there. They probably all got greens, blues if they played it enough, and I just find it's really funny. As it's an RPG, you have probably the worst gear in the game. It'll get better as you level up, and you can't take on every single enemy, especially if they're a higher level than you. As you can see there, I got my ass owned by a load of level 8 enemies, and now I'm the exact same character, exact same level, using the exact same guns, and I'm against level 6 enemies, and you can see there's no problem. I just wanted to put that in there just kind of as a joke, because a lot of people are complaining that that is the problem, when really it's not in an RPG game. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the missions. Again, you didn't play many of the main missions. You got to play the first two, and the first two were basically the same mission. I'm guessing that the third mission for the security wing would be the exact same mission: go into building, retrieve person, come back out. And also the random encounters that you get. There's like random encounters around the map. and they were all the same too. The medical supply ones were all rescue this hostage. The security ones were all defend this group of soldiers. I didn't find any tech ones, but I'm guessing they would all be the same, and I found this a bit of a disappointment that all the missions were the same. Even you got to play the first side mission, and that again was find this person who's gone missing. It has a slight twist in it, but again it was essentially find this person for the first 4 missions, and then a lot of the random encounters. And I just feel like I hope this is just for the beginning. I hope later on the missions are different, but just from my experience of that, I think that's a bit disappointing. And also the enemies, all the gangsters all look the same. They're all the same gangster clothing. I even went checking all their faces, they all have the exact same face. And it just screams rushed, which seems weird bearing in mind this game has been in development for quite a while. The next thing I have a problem with is Isaac. Isaac is this annoying voice that tells you everything you're doing when I'm entering a contaminated zone, when I'm leaving one, and the only way to shut him up is to turn off all audio between players. But not to be confused with player v player, the characters in the game. So you can't make Isaac be quiet without making the other characters be quiet, which really spoilt the story. If I was playing the main campaign, I don't want to have to shut off the whole story just to make one guy be quiet. Also, I can't even, if you've played the beta, you know what he sounds like, but you can't even you won't be able to hear him in this gameplay as he comes through on the mic built into the controller, which was even more annoying because he comes out louder than the game in your face, and he's just really kind of pointless. He just tells you when I'm entering a contaminated zone, and it's like, you've marked it red on the map, I know where a contaminated zone is. So I just wish that if they insist on keeping Isaac in the game, that they make it so I can mute him without muting all the other characters in the game. And this next point, it's more of just a nitpick rather than an actual complaint, but it's just something that really got to me, and it's this. If this is my main base that I'm walking through constantly to retrieve loot from the dark zone, to upgrade my base so I can get more skills, I don't want to have to be going at 2 miles an hour every time I walk through this area, because I'm guessing if every time you complete a mission, every time you get loot, every time you do something else, you're going to be going through this area a lot, and I just don't want to be slowing down. The next thing is the DPS of the weapons. As you can see here, I'm showing you 2 weapons. One has slower fire rate and better damage, but the DPS is a lot less. And now I'm showing you 2 other weapons where one has more damage per bullet and more rounds per minute, yet its DPS is nearly 200 less, and I just felt this was a bit weird, the way they calculated DPS, even though the Magnum was clearly better than the pistol. But maybe there's something I'm missing, like the magazine side even wasn't that much bigger, it was only by 1 bullet. And it just felt like the DPS favoured assault rifles and SMGs over shotguns and other slow firing guns, which are actually really good if you didn't try shotguns because you saw the DPS and it was like, oh, this is a bad gun. No, the shotguns actually kill in like 3 or so bullets, and they fire quite fast. I'm actually glad to be in a game where shotguns don't one-hit kill everything, because they were in Destiny, I think they were a one-hit kill. I don't know if they changed it, I haven't played Destiny in ages, but it seems strange that they made shotguns a one-hit kill. But anyway, moving back on to the good points. Going rogue, it was ishy. Going rogue's a cool thing. Randomly next to you, the teammates can just decide to shoot you if they're not in your party, and it's just an over fun all experience when people do it. it wasn't that often, because if you see a group of like 5 people, and most people were playing on their own, if you see a party of like 4, the chances are they would go rogue as they have the advantage. But if you had like 5 people all on their own, none of them would go rogue. You'd just spend like 5 minutes staring at each other, and maybe one person would do it. But when people do go rogue, it is a lot of fun. However, I would have liked to see an actual PvP area as well as this area. That way it was more like a team deathmatch type of deal, like in Destiny, rather than this open world kind of thing. I know it is an open world game, but it is nice to implement that rather than this rogue system. Also, the rogue system tends to favour running away rather than shooting and killing more enemies, because if you kill more enemies, your rank goes up, you get more rewards, but you just have to lose this rogue rank, you have to spend time not shooting anyone, not getting shot at, and just running away. And it just seemed really strange to make it like that, as it rewards you for running away rather than, like, you know, staying and fighting. Next on to the next thing is that vendors actually matter. This is something that a lot of RPGs get wrong. Take Borderlands 2 for example. Vendors were useless. I mean, lots of you who played Borderlands 2 probably had loads of cash that you just didn't use. They actually had to introduce new vendors in the DLC that ran on a different currency that would give you legendaries, rather than making it so the vendors dropped more legendaries. It was strange. And then for Destiny, I found that the vendors were like the only way to get exotics. You could get them randomly if you were lucky enough. I never was. I got about 2 in my whole time of playing Destiny randomly. But it's good to see here that yeah, you can. Again, I'm only basing this on the beta, but I could get better gear from the vendor, and I could also get good gear by it dropping. So that's a good point. I like to see that in an RPG where you can get gear both ways. So that's just generally what I thought of the beta. I personally am not going to buy this game as soon as it comes out. I'm going to wait to see what the campaign's like. Probably going to wait to see if a lot of these things are changed, like the map layout. I hope they are, but it mainly depends on the campaign. If the campaign turns out to be good, then I probably will buy it. If it turns out to be poor, I can see this being just another Destiny. And I know a lot of people have been comparing this to Destiny, and it's for good reason. They are very similar, except one is aliens and first person, and this one's third person and in New York. But that's just generally what I thought. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and goodbye.